Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and staying happy, healthy, and safe during these crazy, uncertain times. This is my week 12 update video. It's a few weeks late, and I am posting a bunch right in a row. I'm going to try and keep them all short and sweet, but I know that in my first round of pregnancy, it was really helpful to see week by week videos, and it wasn't as helpful to watch like big long videos that covered multiple weeks at a time. So I'm going to try and replicate that, though I do know that my first video was week 0 all the way to week 10. And now I'm kind of rushing through to catch up because the last 6 weeks have just been so hectic, and I haven't really had time to keep up with my vlogging. But hopefully you find this beneficial, and yeah, if you were trying to follow along in your own pregnancy, you're going to have some catch up to do. The other reason why I want to keep these videos kind of on the shorter end is because I would often be watching them, you know, at work during a break or something like that. So it was really helpful to just have these short, like bite-sized videos rather than long videos. I think there's dirt on my face. And I've watched and I've seen some pregnancy update videos that are just like, 20-30 minutes long, and that's really just not really bite-sized enough. And if it is a subsequent pregnancy for you and it's not a first pregnancy, you're probably busier than ever running after a toddler, running off after a child, and you just don't have time for that. So week 12, the baby was as big as a lime. And as I mentioned in my last video, I couldn't quite remember when I saw my midwife, whether it was week 11 or week 12, but that's probably written somewhere and I could probably look it up. Because she had said, oh, baby's as big as your hand, but then when I was re-looking at my notes from the app, it was like baby's as big as a strawberry, which is much smaller than your hand, but maybe she meant this, like this big. But that seems to be about the size as what the baby would have been at week 12. At week 12, some interesting things that are happening is during this week, the baby's intestines are infringing on the umbilical cord. So they are completing the move back into the abdomen, which is a really interesting thing. Also, like sex glands are developing at this time as well. So if you are having a baby girl, she likely already has all of the ovum she will have for the rest of her life. What I've always found really fascinating about women is that we really carry each other's legacy a lot more than men carry their children and grandchildren's legacies, because my ovum were in my mother's body, and my mother, during her pregnancy with me, and vice versa with my grandmother. So technically, I was actually inside of my grandma, like 50% of me, 50% of my genetics, which is really interesting. And it just like, I always tell my son, even though he doesn't know, he's only a year and a half, I always say to him, like, you were in my body for like 26 years. So it's a lot less than just the 9 months of being pregnant, 10 months of being pregnant. Like, it's because that, the 50% of the genetics come in that part, but the other 50% were in there the whole time. So just, bonding and stuff and that kind of special connection. So yeah, like by this time you're in your 3rd month of pregnancy. I really hate counting by months. I think it's a really way to set yourself up for failure, and especially because different women count different ways. So some women will say they're 3 months pregnant when they're in their 3rd month of pregnancy, as where other women will, say they are in their 3rd month of pregnancy. They won't say they're 3 months pregnant until the end of the month. So it's just like a really difficult way, and not that you should compare yourself to other women during your pregnancy too, but it's really just, and you'll hear some people say, oh, like I'm 6 months pregnant, and they have the same due date as you, but you're counting differently, and so it can just be really confusing. So I prefer to go by weeks, but that can be difficult too, because some people count weeks differently than other people. Some people, count 0 to 40, and some people count like the 2 to 40. So it's actually only 38. So they're counting 2 to 38 because they don't count the first 2 weeks of pregnancy. So, it's very confusing. And I've noticed in different cultures, people count the months and the weeks differently too. So you'll see some women that will say they're like in their 10th month of pregnancy, but their due date isn't for, or they will say they're 10 months pregnant, but their due date isn't for another month. And you're like, that is not mathematically possible. But so it's just keep in mind, like, count however you want to count. Try not to compare yourself to other women, especially if you're trying to gauge by size. And one woman says she's 3 months pregnant and she's much smaller than you. Just try and do your own thing and keep track of it in a way that makes the most sense to you. I always like to undercount, if that makes sense, because then it makes your pregnancy not feel as long. And so the entire time, like, I only ever really change the week after the week, if that makes sense. So if I'm in my 15th week of pregnancy, I say 15. My date changes on the Saturday, and then I don't say I'm 16 weeks pregnant until the following Sunday, where some women might say they're in their 16th week that whole time, So it's just a little trick I have of just pacing myself. And for me, with my first pregnancy with Oliver, that actually really worked to my benefit because he came about a week and a half early. So, and I was anticipating going right until 42 weeks because everybody was telling me that first pregnancies go long. So anyway, just a couple things. I see my videos going longer than I wanted it to. I wanted to say that during this week, I was like so excited to just, in 2 more weeks be done my first trimester, because I was really hoping I would feel better. I was just feeling the pits. I had talked to my midwife, and at that point I was puking like 2 to 3 times a day, nauseous the entire time, really having a difficult time keeping fluids down. And she had just, encouraged me, as most midwives do, follow your cravings, whatever you can keep down, whatever you're wanting to eat, just eat it. Don't worry so much about, like, not that you shouldn't worry about health, especially refined sugars. Try and stay away from refined sugars if you can, but just, like, don't worry about the scale or anything like that. Food in you. And and she had no concerns about my weight at that time either, and there were no concerns about my weight in my first pregnancy, even though I am really sick, and I was really sick with Oliver as well. I never hit a point where I was losing weight. I was always on a nice trajectory gaining weight, and I actually gained like 47 pounds when I was pregnant with Oliver, despite having barely any relief from morning sickness my entire pregnancy. So at 12 weeks, I hadn't really gained that much weight. I didn't really look that much different, and specifically my breasts hadn't changed. With Oliver, my breasts went up so many sizes. I think I went bra shopping like 3 times in the first 3 months. Do not do that. If your breasts are getting out of control, go and buy some sports bras that are a bit bigger on you and wear those. Like, it's just not worth the headache of going and getting resized and then also just forking out a bunch of money for bras that you won't wear through your whole pregnancy, because underwires start to get uncomfortable. At least they did for me pretty much in the 5th month. So half of my pregnancy I didn't wear them. And then in postpartum I didn't wear a bra for at least 2 to 3 months. So that's like my number one thing. Save your money. Try and extend all of the clothes you're wearing and all the bras you're wearing as long as possible, and only start upgrading really when you start to see like massive changes in your body. And even then, try and like mitigate the amount of money you're spending by doing things like wearing stretchy baby clothes, or buying secondhand, getting hand-me-downs, and especially bras. If you're like me and you're a busty lady, it's really expensive, and you might be wearing unusual sizes, and those bras cost a lot more money than just your average bra, and it's just not worth it to keep on replacing those bras. especially because you might ruin them. I leaked colostrum from month 3 all the way up until I gave birth with Oliver, and I ruined so many bras. Anyway, this video went really long. I hope you found it a little informative and helpful, and I'll see you next video.